Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How's it going, Dad?
Very well, Steve. Back in full voice, I'm happy to say,
Oh,
for the
good.
time being. It may croak towards the end, but I'm feeling a little bit more powerful at the moment.
Good. Booming. You're booming.
Yeah, booming.
Excellent. Excellent. So this is the show where we take your artwork sent in to us by members and we'll offer some advice on challenges that you've faced with doing either your own projects or projects from our website. And this is a service that is available only to members of the website, and lots of new members submitting lots of new pictures, which is lovely to see. Some good ones coming up today, Dad.
Oh, not half. We are getting good, aren't we, folks? Or you're getting good. I think that everything's working at the moment. The feedback show is obviously really good, because you see things there that maybe on your own work and others' work that you can say, oh, I've got to watch that. And today is no exception, because today we've got quite a variety of different little problematic things that you're bound to come across. And I hope by the end of the show you will look back on that and say, gosh, I learned something there.
Well, that is the aim.
Which it is the aim, yeah.
Okay, without further ado then. The first couple of pictures here is from Dawn. Dawn says, "Hi Steve, I just purchased the animal membership and am hooked. I was always afraid of pastels until I stumbled upon Colin's website, and now I can't get enough. I've just completed my first two pictures and wondered if Colin could give me some feedback, please. The challenges? I think obtaining the depth of colour, particularly with the tiger, was most difficult. I can't seem to get enough colour on the paper without crushing it, so it won't take anymore. Thanks, Dawn."
Yeah, and this is a common problem. Everybody's got it, but I've got to tell you, you've made a terrific job of those two pictures. You really have. I can understand why you're hooked on the pastels. Imagine now the first two. Gosh. Now, as far as the colour is concerned, there is two factors involved here. One is too much underlay. In other words, too much base colour being put on, and that weakens the stronger colours that go on top. And then the other problem is you then, I suspect, trying to make the ochre in both the animals darker. That's the 187, or I think it's 187 we use, or 186. And you've tried to make them darker by using the colour more strongly. In other words, a little bit more pressure. That doesn't work either. You've got to then rely on the next colour that comes along, which would have been 283 in both cases. That's the one that darkens. So these are the things you've got to watch. And I would suggest it's a really good idea in a situation like this to just take a section of that picture, can be either one of them, and practice putting the undercolour on, then going over with the next colour, as I've just instructed you, and then the final colour, and see how you get on. If it's still weak, then one of the other factors I've told you about is applying. And eventually, if you do it enough times, you'll understand how that can happen. But see, we have to have base colours, because we don't have the base colours. The colour, the 187 in this case, is too rich. You see what I mean? You're getting too rich a colour, and you've got to have a muted colour. If you look at my two pictures, certainly in the tiger, it's muted. You get a really soft look, and that's what pastels do. It allows you to do that. If you just go with the colour and say, oh, that's ochre, so I'll put ochre on, or that's black, oh, I'll put black on, it's not going to work. You have to have the softness to it. You have to have the base colours. That's the reason. But I've got to tell you, that is really good, and I look forward to seeing more of them. Just one small thing that I'm sure will help you. The Jack Russell that you've done, if you look at mine, you see right at the very bottom where the dog finishes and the background takes over. You see, I've fogged that out. It would have been a good idea to do that on yours, because it tends, when you do things like that, it tends to make it look as though the head's cut off. You see what I mean? So it's very simple. You just use your finger and bring the background and the white together.
You've said this before. I love this word where you said you fused the background into the background. I love that word, fusing.
Yes, yes. What it is, it's actually, it's sort of putting the. I
Excuse me.
haven't done a lot of this recently, I must admit. I tend to make the animals, fit in. But I've just finished one, and I went back to it again, and it was nice to go back to it where I, just finish like I've done there with the Jack Russell, and it works really well. I like doing that. I always did. I used to do it a lot, but I've kind of changed my tact a little bit. But I'm going back to it again. That's how to do it anyway.
Excellent. Well, I hope that's helped, Dawn, and well done. Next one's from Maxine. Got a couple from Maxine today. This is the first one. I enjoyed trying to follow your dad's class with Lola. I have problems adding more layers of pastels. I can see that I need more contrast in the bib. Also, I made the mistake of spraying it with fixative. I would really appreciate any helpful comments. A devoted student, Maxine.
Great. Well, the first thing you've learned there is not to use a fixative. But having said that, if you've used that fixative and you haven't reapplied any pastel, you can actually do that. You can actually go back over, especially the bib. You can actually go over and reapply pastel on top of fixative. I mean, you could say, well, wouldn't that defeat the object of it? Because then it isn't fixed again. Well, it is absolutely. But you're in the same boat, really. But that's what you could do. And I would suggest you did it. But fixative tends to make things harsh. If you look at mine, you see how soft it looks, that Lola's bib. It's really soft, and you can almost scrunch your hand in it. I was stroking that cat today, Steve. Funny enough.
Ah, really?
Yeah. Yes, I was. My friend's. It's my friend's cat, and I was round there today, and beautiful animal, beautiful animal. Anyway, so that's the way to do it. It's practice, though. We've had this before where people find it difficult to add the dark colours, and I do understand that. But the thing is, revisit the video over and over again, and you'll see many more as well, many more examples of this, and see how I layer and use the colours. It's confidence, really. When you tend to look at something like this, you say, well, I've got to make sure I put enough white on, so you tend to pile drive it on there. And then you put the grey on, you think, oh, I can't put too much grey because it's going to look too dark. And therefore you don't get that depth, which you can get if you do it the way I show you. But it's only a matter of practice, that's all. And when you do, you'll really enjoy it. It's great fun. But well done. I mean, it's a very difficult picture, and you've done brilliantly. And the grass is, again, you'll hear me say it so many times in the feedback show, the way I've done that grass is really hard. It's an impressionistic. The cat was sitting on the floor, and there was no grass there, so you have to make it up. And what I had to do there is do it in such a way that it wasn't green, it wasn't ochre, it was a mixture of all of the colours together, which worked really well in this case.
Beautiful.
But you've done brilliantly. Well done.
Excellent. Okay, next one from Brian. Brian's a new member. He says, hello, Colin and Steve. I've just done a piece of artwork on the paper I ordered from your website, and I'm wondering if it could be critiqued. I'm very new to working with pastels, as I do most artwork in coloured pencil, but I have been truly inspired by seeing what Colin can do. You asked me what areas I found I had challenges with. I would have to say the trees in the background. I'm not sure if I created enough depth with my drawing of them, so if Colin could help me with that, that would be awesome. Brian.
Yes, well, again, loads of examples on the website, so check all the landscapes and you'll see how I do it. Now, generally speaking, this is the masters in America. I can't remember the name of it actually, but anyway, that's what it was taken from. And what tends to happen is when a photograph is taken, especially like this, the trees in the foreground and the trees in the background are more or less the same. Now, we tend to fog out the trees in the background a bit. And what you can do in a situation like this is bring the sky down, or the sky colours, the grey or the blues, right down over the top of all those trees. Not over the top, underneath them. In other words, you haven't put any trees on, right? And you just bring the sky down. You'll see me do this lots. When you put the greens on again, they tend to mute, and that gives you a better definition of distance. So when you come into the foreground where the grasses are and the trees on the left-hand side, you can be more powerful with them. You can use them, as I do, without the the color, the base color being put on, and that gives you a richness. So then you get the distance between the two. But when you look at that, you think, oh, it looks as though it's all the same, and it does. I must admit that they've used all the same, or rather, you would need to use all the same colours. But I would tend to have thrown those trees back a bit. Look at the now I've told you this. Look at the way I produce distance trees, and you'll see that you can make them recede. That helps a lot. That does.
Sorry, I was going to say, so even though on the picture it's quite difficult because it looks like they're all one colour, so there's no real, it's very hard to see the depth of the distance of the trees. You can kind of tweak that a little bit, fiddle that a little bit, so that you get that, for example, that very prominent tree in the middle, you can get that to come more forward by fading out these ones with base colours.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you do. Anything that's in the foreground, and that would be sort of middle distance, really, but it would still be classed as the foreground. And you've got to throw those trees behind it back. And the way I've told you is the way you do it. Because once you put all the greens on, you'll find that they'll be muted by the grey or the bluey grey sky colour that you've got on there. You don't put white on; it's got to be that colour of the sky that runs right down the bottom, right to the bridge, really. And while I'm on there, the other thing that really I think spoils it in a way is the look at the above the bridge, distance bridge, and you've got a line of dark that runs right across, all the way across there. Now, that is, you'll say to me, yes, but it's on the original picture. I know it is, but if you look at the original photograph, you'll see that there's a diffusion again, between the top of that dark area and the tree itself, the trees themselves. Instead of a line, you can't see a line on the photograph. It's diffused. So this is another thing you've got to watch. You've got to make it look more realistic. That tends to, in my view, it just tends to spoil it a little bit.
When there's a line, not a line.
Well done, Stevie. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But if you follow my advice on that and once you've done what I've told you, and then use all the colours that you can see there, and all those colours can go in, but they won't go as bright. They won't be as bright because they'll be being put into the base colour, the lighter base colour, which will make them light. You can't put it on top. That's the one thing you can't do. You can't go and put an older light on top of that. It'll look awful. You completely ruin it. With the pastel pencil, you've got to have it underneath.
Okay. There's some good tips in there, Brian. I hope that helps.
The other thing, can I just also pick out one other thing, Steve, is the water. Now, the water, you see how dark that is in the reference picture, the photograph, compared with yours, which are light. Now, if you'd darkened that a little more, and it would have looked better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to follow what you see. Funny enough, when I did watch some of the golf on the television, and I was marvelled at this beautiful golf course, and I think, gosh, I'd love to do that. And I've never really done a picture like that, but I certainly would like to, because I think it's a cracking picture. But I'd put golfers on if I did it. I'd have to have a
Yeah.
couple of golfers.
Oh yes, there's got to be a story in there. Got to be
Oh,
some.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Lovely.
But well done. It's a good thing. I hope that you enjoy the pastel pencils. I say you work in coloured pencil, so there is a big difference between the two. But
Excellent.
it looks nice.
Well done, Brian. Okay, next one from Maggie. This is the first one we've seen of the baby orangutan project that went up recently. Maggie says, "Hi both. Please see attached my attempt at the baby orangutan, otherwise known as Bad Hair Day 2. This was really enjoyable to do, but quite a challenge, especially all that hair. I'd be grateful for Colin's advice as to how it could be improved. I can already see that my branch does not look round. Thanks again, Maggie."
You know, it's interesting, isn't it? There's such a simple thing, that branch. When I tell you, how to do it, you'll think, why didn't I think of that? You see, if you go to the branch yourself, right, more or less in the middle, especially at the middle of there, that's it, the one. This is a question of when's a line not a line. You see what I mean? Now, all you have to do with that, all you have to do is just use your lighter colours and just lighten it just a touch, and you lose it, and suddenly you get a round branch. It's
I see.
amazing how that
Yeah,
could happen.
see how yours isn't a
Yeah,
line here.
that's
So
right. That's right. There's no line. It's a graduation again from the bottom of the branch to the top of the branch
yeah,
because of the light source, and that light diffuses, that word again, as it goes around and drops round, and this is what creates the roundness. It's the same if you look at the hand. The hand is the same. You've got the fingers that are curled round, slightly underneath the branch, not quite underneath it, but slightly underneath, are darker, and the ones on top. It's the same thing. You see, you're following it through, but you've done that on your picture. You've done that,
yeah.
but you've kind of alongside the knuckles, which are there. You've done it on the branch as well. But which it's not a bad thing. It's just doesn't get the roundness that you should have there. But that's easy to overcome. You can cope with that, I'm sure.
I've got to say, I was so impressed when I saw this picture. I think it's an absolute extraordinary interpretation of your picture, Dad.
It is. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it just goes to show, doesn't it, how clever our students are to be able to pick up what I tell them, and to do a fantastic job, which they have done. The only thing I would say about the eye on the left, or the left-hand eye, is not quite right. You've got it just slightly out of kilter. If you look at mine, you'll see it's a little bit more round. You've closed the eye a bit on the left-hand side of the eye. Yeah. You see, just a bit higher than that. On the lid itself, if you go onto there we are, that's it. You see how that's almost straight? Well, on mine it's more arched. It's got an arch on it.
Yeah, I would never have spotted that. Quite.
It's only a small thing, and I mean, you could say, well, it's slightly, it doesn't matter. If you're following mine, then fine. I've got to tell you that you do need to make that adjustment. But if it doesn't matter if it's yours, because he or she could have winked or starting to wink. You can interpret it.
I was wondering how you're going to cover that, but yeah.
I'm struggling, Steve. I was really struggling.
Oh, lovely job. Thanks, Maggie.
But it is good. No, it's wonderful, though. Well done on a very tricky area.
Next one. Another one from Maxine. This is the last one for today. Maxine says, "Good morning. After doing Lola from your lesson, I tried doing my own cat, Posy, and I see her chin is wrong. I don't know how to make it look right. Do you have any suggestions? I love being a member. I've been wanting to learn to use pastels for a very long time. Watching you, Mr. Bradley, has turned a light on. I truly love watching and trying your classes. You're a wonderful teacher and amazing artist."
Oh, thank you. Well, I see if I can live up to that, shall I? I know exactly what you've done wrong, though. Get your little pointer ready, Stevie.
Yep.
And what you've got to do is go to the actual original photograph for the minute. That's it. Now go to where the head meets the neck on the left-hand side. No, the other side. That's it. Just there. Right where you've got that pointer. Now keep that pointer there. Now look at the other one without moving your pointer. You look at your photograph and you haven't got it.
Ah, so it's like
Not there.
this shadow here.
That's right. Now all you have to do again. Here we go. If you go to the other side, okay, same point there, right? Now if you lighten the neck, don't touch the head section of that at all, but lighten the area there, just there. That's it. You got it. If you just lighten that, that would immediately throw that shadow more on the cat. It's very difficult to know where to put shadows, but in a situation like this, you've already got it. It's already done for you. You've got the light on the neck and the shadow or light shadow on the head, and you follow that. Now, if you follow that round, especially if you go back to the original again, the photograph, you can follow that round. You can see it just goes all the way around there. See? It's very subtle, and I can understand fully how you come a cropper with that. You can also, another thing you could do there is where the just under the mouth there, on the left-hand side of the mouth, you could just fuse that a little bit. Don't make it quite so strong, because then implies that you've got a chin that runs down there, and it doesn't. Subtle, very subtle, but you could do it. And this is where you've got to pay attention to the subtleties in shadows like that. And I'm sure you'll do really well on it. I also think too, if you don't mind me saying so, you kind of got a little bit overboard with the eyes. I think looking at the cat's eye, both of them, they haven't got the dark colours that you've interpreted in them, and it's tended to take it away a little bit from the cat.
A bit too light, are they?
Well, if you look at it doesn't matter either eye on your photograph, you'll see that you've got dark markings. Now you've interpreted them wrongly. If you look at the reference picture now, you can't see them. I can't see them. There's very faint shadows there, but not darker markings. So you've kind of put something in that's not there, and you've got to be careful there. Diffuse them a bit more.
Okay, good little bonus tip.
Well, you see, when you've got reference pictures, I often say, especially when I'm doing the video in itself, I say, you can use a bit of artistic license here, folks. You can do this and you can do that. You've got to be careful, though, because if you take artistic license and do it wrong, which is what you've done in this situation, you've overcompensated for something that you didn't have to do. So it's always best to err on the side of caution on the situation like this. But she's a lovely animal, though. I can understand why, and very similar to Lola, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
The colours are very similar. But I bet you've enjoyed that. Lovely. Yeah. And you put a background on, which is great.
Lovely. Excellent. Well done, everyone. It's a lovely selection of pictures. I hope everyone watching that hasn't been those particular students has learnt something from those tips as well. That's why we put it out here, so that other people can
yeah,
learn
keep
from
them
it.
coming too, because I love looking at the pictures, and I love helping if I can. And certainly a little point that it's all a question really of people very often ask me how is it I can see these things. It's just experience, folks. The more I see, the more I look, and that I look at reference picture constantly. Sometimes you'll catch me when I'm doing a video and moving my head. I see it when I watch it back. I see my head flicking, and you see how many times I actually do that. And because that's what you've got to do. If you're looking at a reference photograph and you don't look at it enough, you tend to wander. That's my best expression. You wander and you do your own thing, and then you suddenly look back and think, oh, it's not like that at all.
Excellent.
So that's one of the best tips I can give. Constantly have the reference picture in shot and keep looking at it. Make sure you get it right.
Good tip. Okay, fantastic. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with another feedback show. So in between now and then, if you have done any pictures and you're a member of the website, then send them over with any challenges that you face, like all of the people today, and we'll try and help you on those key areas. And we'll be back next week with a podcast, which you can tune into on our website next Friday. Great. Thanks, Dad.
That's all right. Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.